In 1995, Sega's hottest game series in the arcades and at home was Virtua Fighter. The series is still going strong today, but like all things that ride a wave of breakout success, iterative media will follow. In the case of Virtua Fighter, it was one of many games that Sega gave the anime treatment to way back when. Stay here for the story of Virtua Fighter, the anime. The first half of the 1990s are often looked back with fondness as Sega's glory days. In America, the company was riding high off the success of the Sega Genesis. In Japan, the games were there too, but as a brand, Sega of Japan was equally involved in other ventures, toys, and a chain of nationwide arcades. These integrated Sega's homegrown video game efforts to varying degrees. The earliest efforts began back in the 80s, when Sega helped produce Zillion and Borgman. The final product would see a Sega video game, an anime TV series, and things from both, sold as toys and action figures. Initially, these were collaborations with other established companies, a venture known in Japan as a media mix. These were so successful that by the 90s, Sega went all in on the concept, acquiring outright the largest toy manufacturer in Japan, Yonezawa, and one of the more popular anime studios, TMS. In 1994, the first official media mix with Sega having majority control of the production, Magic Knight Rayearth, hit the airwaves. A game for the Sega Saturn and a few Game Gear games soon followed, as well as a line of dolls featuring the Magic Knights and replica items from the series. From top to bottom, the collaboration was a smash hit. With many of the decisions done in-house, the media mix had a unified look and feel, with Sega profiting greatly from it. Magic Knight Rayearth was one of the earliest Sega Saturn games, but not the first. That honor went to Virtua Fighter, first going on sale on November 22, 1994. However, life for Virtua Fighter doesn't begin here. You have to go back a few years to a breakthrough arcade game, Virtua Racing, released in 1992. Virtua Racing was a showcase for the new Model 1 arcade hardware Sega had developed, providing amazing 3D visuals that were smoother and more realistic than the superscalar games Sega had made before. The look of Virtua Racing and the timing of the arcade game perfectly lined up with virtual reality entering mainstream consciousness. Sega went further down this road and released Virtua Fighter the next year. 1993 was a high point of a long plateau of the 90s fighting game boom, kicked off by Street Fighter II and Mortal Kombat. Virtua Fighter had all the things expected of an early 90s fighting game. A robust cast of interesting characters, and a slate of moves that can be performed in general by everyone, with some unique to each fighter. And it was all done in a rotating 3D arena. It may look very dated now, but in 1993, there was nothing else like Virtua Fighter. Though that would change, as the impact it left would soon lead to many 3D fighters, creating an all-new subgenre. Virtua Fighter reigned in Japan as the #1 arcade game of 1994, and Sega's highest-earning coin-op machine ever. Virtua Fighter 2 came out a year later, becoming the most profitable game of 1995. When Sega brought this next-level arcade experience home with the Saturn, the Virtua games came right along. In the early days of 32-bit, the Saturn outsold the PlayStation. Much of that came from the mania Virtua Fighter had. Japanese gamers had no problem shelling out what equaled $500 for that experience. In November 1994, weekly episodes of Magic Knight Rayearth were on the airwaves. That media mix was successful, though there was a slight black eye to the project, since Sega and TMS had licensed out existing characters created by manga artists Clamp, which allowed for Rayearth games to appear on Nintendo's Super Famicom without any input from Sega. But with the hottest arcade game around firmly under Sega's ownership, the call was made for the next mix from Sega and TMS to be Virtua Fighter. It is true that a Sonic cartoon had already been produced by an outside studio, but this would be the first time Sega was in complete control of both game and animation. On the day the first episode was scheduled for broadcast on TV Tokyo, October 9, 1995, the Sega Saturn was leading the next generation. Virtua Fighter 1 was the best-selling 32-bit game so far. The sequel would soon outperform that. Akira Yuki was ready for prime time.
伝説の拳法を使うファイターたちがこの世の悪を叩きのめす新番組バーチャーファイター10月9日月曜夕方6時30分スタート。
The 8 stars that reside in the sky can only be seen by those who possess true strength, not only physical but spiritual as well. In search of these stars, he set out on a journey. They call him Virtua Fighter! Young Akira Yuki has embarked on a mission to witness a constellation of 8 stars that can only be seen by the strongest fighters. He practices the Hakkyoku-ken style of martial arts, a localized version of the Chinese Bajikwan style that focuses on the 8 distal-most contact points on the body to strike the opponent. At the beginning of his journey, he wanders into a Chinatown restaurant and suddenly finds himself caught up in all kinds of trouble involving an international crime syndicate that will soon have him on the chase. Here in the restaurant, Pai-chan is kidnapped by the Koen-kan. She is arranged to be married to the group's leader, Liu Kowloon. Pai refuses and the chase crosses paths with Akira. He does the right thing and confronts the Koen-kan to rescue her. On the run from the gang, Akira and Pai meet Jacky and Sarah Bryant, a brother and sister team, though they both have highly skilled martial arts abilities. The 4 of them drive the Koen-kan out of Chinatown and then head out to New Las Vegas for Jacky's next big race. As it turns out, the Bryants come from an upper-class background, but use racing as a way to find their own identities. Alexander, the flying squirrel, Sarah's pet, brings them some companionship on the road. While traveling, these newfound friends learn more about each other. Pai's father, Lao Chan, was the founder of the Koen-kan many years ago. He was more devoted to the Koen-kan than to his own family. Pai's mother fell ill and was neglected by Lao at the end. Without a male heir, he arranged for Liu, his best student, to marry Pai and continue the Koen-kan. It strained the Lao family relationship beyond repair. Unbeknownst to Lao, Liu was turning the Koen-kan into a criminal organization. As Akira, Pai, Jacky, and Sarah continue their journey, they face the Koen-kan time and again. With each step, the Koen-kan's sphere of influence becomes clearer, leading Akira and his new friends to travel across America and around the world. On that journey, Akira crosses paths with Jimmy Gates, leader of the American Koen-kan, Wolf Hawkfield, a fighting champion, and Jeffrey McWild, a fisherman who is also a self-taught brawler. Liu Kowloon has made an alliance with Ava Durix, a scientist who believes that martial artists can be made into the perfect killing machine, with her scientific research engineering out human morality that gets in the way of her ideal warrior. While Akira and company are fighting the Koen-kan, Ava hires a ninja, Kagemaru, to kidnap Sarah, then brainwash her in order to use her skills to develop the ultimate fighting robot, Doral. Ava's work catches the eye of the Rafal Corporation. The heir of the company, Leon Rafal, sides with Akira as he'd rather abandon his position than live with the pressure of maintaining the family business. This also forces tension between Ava and the Koen-kan. Liu insists Ava kidnap and brainwash Pai into marriage, and orders the assassination of Lao. Akira falls after, to Hong Kong, to rescue Pai. Shun Di, Lao's master, stops Liu's plans just in time. He then admonishes his former student for his neglect to both his family and the Koen-kan. After the intervention, Lao admits that his heart had gone cold after realizing that despite being the most powerful fighter in the world, he could never cure Pai's mother. At this moment, he formally dissolves the Koen-kan. It doesn't matter to Liu, who's also at a breaking point with Ava, leading to a battle between him and Doral. And without spoiling the ending, Ava continues her work on Doral with a secret organization. Rivals from the past are confronted face to face, and Akira must put a permanent end to Doral. The overall story arc to Virtua Fighter is intense, but the series intersperses these moments with a lot of humor. Akira starts off as a bumbling fool. Despite being a trained martial artist, he's a klutz, and he eats like a pig. In fact, the only reason he bothered to get involved with Pai in the first place was that the restaurant owner offered him free food. Of course, there is the romantic subplot between the two. often interrupted because they're on the chase. Akira does mature over the course of the series, but it takes a long time and isn't complete until the very end. Alexander provides a few cute moments. Backstories come in and out of almost every episode. Pai's dreams of movie stardom, Jacky and Lion having similar upbringings, and many other smaller details that eventually connect to strengthen the overall story. It's hard to get a lot of detail into fighting games. Even with instruction manuals, it's usually, he's from here, she's from there, this one's trying to avenge someone else. That's about it. What makes a good fighting game, whether it's Virtua Fighter or anything else, is a diverse cast of characters with interesting backstories. It's probably why so many of them have characters from around the world. It's the fastest way to have a connection to the game, a reason to invest your time into it and make it enjoyable to a wide audience. But there will always be far less room for character development with a fighting game than other genres. The anime was a great way to carry these stories back into the game and then take the game into another format and explore those things that can't really be done in arcades. You could actually watch the entire Virtua Fighter series and have no idea it was ever based on a video game and still be entertained. While all of the main characters are taken straight from Virtua Fighter 1 and 2, naturally there are other references to the game that join the two media, namely the wireframe drawings that accompany several fighting scenes, which often include the names of special moves performed by those characters in-game. Akira's famous phrase, "You're 10 years too early," makes it in as well, but thankfully not every single battle cry did. There aren't many direct references to Sega, unlike in Zillion, where JJ was playing a Master System, or Borgman, which had a video game museum full of Sega stuff that opened in 2024. But if you look carefully, there are a few touches left behind by the animators, like the signs that reference Sonic, and even Akira's Chicken Dinner was named after the TMS studio. Virtua Fighter came to an end on June 27, 1996, after 35 episodes. The series was successful. There weren't many people who didn't already know about Virtua Fighter, but it gave the game more visibility, and the airtime served as a platform for other Sega advertising. Soon after, the series was exported around the world. Virtua Fighter was translated into English years later, though never broadcast nationally in the United States. At a time when the Sega Saturn needed all the help it could, a weekly TV show about one of its games would have been a noble way to boost the Saturn. It certainly couldn't have hurt. The English version, like most international editions, only contained the first 24 episodes, which does comprise the full story arc between Akira and Lu. The main conflict within the series is resolved. Akira's journey to witness the 8 stars in the sky becomes metaphorical as he realizes his strength and abilities by finishing 8 different opponents with the 8 special moves in Hyakyokuken. The final 11 episodes, unseen in America, are almost like a second series, taking place a few years later, adding new characters and locales to the story, sewing up all the loose ends that still remain. The series has gone through several home media releases worldwide since the 90s, including VHS and DVD. The most recent release is a Blu-ray box set released in 2023 that features all 35 episodes in Japanese, 24 in English, and subtitles in both languages for all of them. You might also find the series on a number of online video services, but since those are always changing, the best advice I can give is to check your local listings.
Kids Gear 誕生第1弾バーチャファイターいつでもどこでもバーチャしようぜキッズギアバーチャファイターミニ Sega
In the past, media mixes like Magical Hat had Sega developing a game in conjunction with the series. With Virtua Fighter, it was the first time Sega had an existing game that was then turned into a TV show. Virtua Fighter 2 arrived on the Saturn during the first few weeks of the series. Near the conclusion of the anime, Sega had a new set of games to work in tandem with the weekly adventures of Akira, Pai, Jacky, and Sarah. Virtua Fighter Mini was released for the Game Gear on March 29, 1996. The effort to take a groundbreaking arcade game and bring it to an 8-bit portable was daunting, but possible. Naturally, 3D had to go. 3 points of view are offered instead: normal, large, and real-time, which was the best the Game Gear could do to recreate the original 3D look. The moves are simplified, and the start button is assigned as the guard button. The game begins only with Akira, playable in a story mode. The other fighters, Pai, Jacky, Sarah, Kagemaru, Wolf, and Lao, are unlocked after defeating each one. There is a 2-player option when linking together 2 Game Gears. Virtua Fighter Mini reflects the show fairly well, with every stage in the game having a corresponding scene from the series, including the Chinese restaurant, the Wolf's Den, and the castle where Sarah is being held. Between each battle are short intermissions that move the game along. The designs resemble the art style seen on TV as best as possible. One Easter egg: Dural is unlockable by holding buttons 1, 2, and start at the character selection screen in Versus mode. Along with the mini-game, Sega released a new model of the Game Gear with a Virtua Fighter paint job. This new model was named the Kids Gear, aimed at younger players who couldn't get into arcades or maybe didn't have the Saturn at home. Virtua Fighter Mini came to America in August 1996, renamed Virtua Fighter Animation. The change was unusual because in the US, there wasn't an animated show to see. The retitling was meant to reflect the cutscenes between stages. A version of the game also made its way to the Master System by Tectoy in Brazil. This version is slightly different. There weren't as many colors on screen, but the biggest change and flaw is that you can't guard because the Master System had no start button. A second game appeared in arcades around the same time as Virtua Fighter Mini, Virtua Fighter Kids. Basically the same classic Virtua Fighter with the characters redesigned in a chibi style. The arcade game was popular, but not a smash hit like the original, ranking in the top 5. Virtua Fighter Kids came home to the Saturn in July 1996 in Japan. The home versions had additional cutscenes, and button combinations were programmable, making attacks easier to perform. The difficulty was lowered to make the game less frustrating for younger players as well. Plush figures of the characters in Virtua Fighter Kids were sold in Japan, becoming a rather popular item. A scaled-down 3-round arcade version of Kids was also a promotional giveaway from Java Tea in Japan, with logo branding and cans of tea appearing throughout the game. When Virtua Fighter Kids made its way to the US, the response was not so positive. Without a TV series to bank on, the game made little sense. More so that the chibi art style was not well understood by Americans. With the media mix fully wrapped up by the summer of 1996, Virtua Fighter the anime was a success. It helped maintain the series' popularity, basically serving as a free commercial every week for almost an entire year. It added new games to the franchise and expanded the world where the game takes place. Some plot points carried on into the series, such as Sarah being used in the Dural project, and Lao still looking for a successor. Virtua Fighter was far from the last time Sega would cross TV with games. Not long after, the Sakura Wars series got its start, while later projects involved live-action tokusatsu. Mixes were seen throughout the 90s and into the 21st century, cementing Sega's brand and image as more than just a video game company, even though that's what they do best. And if nothing else, all those investments made decades ago have certainly paid off with dividends. And I think Akira Yuki would toast to that.